Welcome to Nasdaq TradeTalks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us for this segment, we have Flori, Senior Funding Officer at the Council of European Development Bank, as well as Miia Palviainen. She's a Funding Officer at the Council of European Development Bank. And they joined us to discuss the type of projects financed by the social inclusion bonds and the social challenges that are being addressed. It is great to have you both with us. And I'd like to start with you. Congratulations on your social bond listed on Nasdaq Sustainable Bond Market. Could you tell us about your development bank and the social inclusion bonds you issue?
Thank you. We are indeed very happy to have joined the Nasdaq Sustainable Bond Network at the end of the year, and to now have our first bond listed on Nasdaq Sustainable Bond Market. We actually got to ring the bell this morning in Stockholm. Our institution, the Council of Europe Development Bank, is the oldest financial institution in Europe and the only one with an exclusive social mandate. As a multilateral development bank, and given our mandate, we are financing social projects in our 42 member states, soon to be 43, with Ukraine likely joining. Our primary purpose is to actually help solving the social challenges our member states could be facing in general, and especially when welcoming large inflows of refugees or displaced people. Given the most recent and unprecedented crises, such as the earthquake in Turkey, the war in Ukraine, or the COVID-19 pandemic, we have been very active financing key projects across Europe so that people affected by these crises would be better off. To finance these projects, we do finance ourselves through the debt capital market by issuing conventional bonds, but also social inclusion bonds. Via our social inclusion bonds, we are actually proactively offering our investors bonds that ultimately finance projects that support social cohesion in Europe. For instance, in 2022, 34% of our annual funding was being done through social inclusion bonds to finance projects to assist refugees fleeing Ukraine. In the previous year, obviously, we launched COVID-19 response bond. So far, this year has been very strong for us, and we have been able to access the market multiple times and even venture out to new currencies. We already issued 2 SIB benchmarks, the last one today with a US dollar benchmark, but we also issued a euro one. And we have issued the largest Nasdaq Stockholm listed SECI social bond in late April.
Miia, what type of projects are financed by the social inclusion bonds, and are there any specific social challenges that are being addressed?
Yeah, sure. I think you could say that us as an institution, we are very much social already, but the social inclusion bond very specifically finance projects in 4 distinct categories. Which are health and social, healthcare, education, affordable housing, and MSME financing. The issues that we face in Europe are quite multitude, but I guess you could say that the social cohesion is the biggest mandate we have to reach here in Europe. And in order to achieve that, there are some inequalities that we need to address. And we have done so by, for example, financing social housing in France, or through, for example, providing micro entrepreneurship startup money to companies in Italy. So this is all to bridge the gap to achieve better to reach equality among different population groups in Europe. More specifically, last year, we provided a financing to the Ukraine refugees, for the member countries receiving the influx of Ukrainian refugees. And here we were able to help more than 1.5 million Ukrainians fleeing to Poland. So it's quite sizable what we are able to achieve here.
And as you mentioned, you just issued the largest social inclusion bond that is listed in Nasdaq Stockholm. Would you say that the demand among investors is picking up?
Indeed, we have noticed an increased in Nordic investors' interest for social inclusion bonds, for social bond in general. But we overall witnessed that same pickup globally from North American investors' accounts as well, and from Asia as well. So we see very much a strong correlation between the crisis the world and Europe had gone through, and this renewed interest from investors for anything social.
And Miia, to wrap up here, would you recommend other international development banks raise their profile in the Swedish market?
Absolutely. I think that the demand is very strong, and it's nice to see SECI market functioning as a diversification tool for issuers such as ourselves. So why not anyone else to follow our route?
Okay. And Miia, we appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.